Dzień dobry, assalamu alaikum, ciao, konnichiwa, bonjour, good morning, good morning, good morning. And I'm sorry, I'm about a minute late today. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a lovely weekend. And for those fathers out there, hope you had as good a day with your children as I had with mine. It was lovely just seeing the family, and always great fun for me. One of the most special days of the year. So I hope you had fun. Hope you're doing well. If you haven't been here before, welcome and thanks for joining us. This is Ken at 10. We broadcast daily and talk about all things property. We're based in southwest London, an area called Norbury, which has Croydon to the south and Streatham to the north. So in terms of the market at the moment, a few things to talk about. The market has slowed down a little bit, as you might expect. As far as what else is going on, how many days now remain? Just the 10 days now before the first stamp duty deadline. And for those that are saying, you know, will they extend it? No, they won't extend it. There's not a chance they'll extend it this time, in my view. It is fixed. And, you know, the reason it was put there in the first place was to encourage people to buy. It did that in very large numbers, as we'll come on in the headlines in a moment. And so I don't see them extending it. I'm sorry if you've missed it, because I know it's a lot of money. But then the flip side of that has to be that actually, if you're basing your whole decision to move on a £15,000 incentive, perhaps you shouldn't be moving anyway, because it should be a bigger decision. My suspicion is that what's happened is that it's something that people have used. It has been a catalyst, but they were going to move anyway. It's just brought forward those decisions in some cases. But yeah, in terms of the market generally, let's go on to the daily news. First of all, an article from the Daily Express, Mail, Mirror, Telegraph and Independent. Goodness me, this journalist gets everywhere. Property prices have hit a record high for the third consecutive month. No surprise there, is there? And that's from Rightmove. Asking prices up 0.8%, I should say. The equivalent of £2,509 on average in June, taking the typical asking price to £336,000. It comes despite figures from the ONS, Office for National Statistics, indicating that UK house prices dropped by a total of 5,000 in April, when the stamp duty holiday was initially meant to end. The ONS House Price Index, however, is based on completed sales that come at the end of the conveyancing process instead of the prices that sellers are looking to achieve, as used by Rightmove. Rightmove's data indicates that there may be a slight slowing in the pace of the market ahead. Well, we would expect that, wouldn't we? We would expect the market to slow down a little, given, you know, in the face of only the 10 days remaining before the end of that deadline. You know, you're not going to make it now, let's be honest, unless you're a cash buyer with Superman as a lawyer. Chances are you're not going to make the deadline now unless you're buying at auction. And our auctions were extraordinarily successful this time around, and no surprise there either. Rural house prices are surging. This is an article that came out in The Guardian. It says that rural house prices have risen twice as fast as prices in urban areas. Prices in the countryside rose by more than 14% in the year, prompting concerns that local young people will not be able to afford to get on the property ladder. The rise in demand is thought to be driven by more people moving to the countryside because of the pandemic and the need to live near offices. Prices rose by an average of 14.2% last year in the countryside, compared with less than 7% in urban areas. This is analysis by Hamptons. The biggest increase, of up to 30%, were in Nottinghamshire, an area called Broxtowe, Lancaster, Arran in West Sussex, and Amber Valley in Derbyshire. And talking about those things, the most affordable areas, new data from Mojo Mortgages takes a look, and this is an article from the Metro, at the most and least affordable areas in England. The index looked at house prices, average mortgage repayments, average annual salary, and average monthly take-home pay. And inevitably, London, of course, is ranked as one of the least affordable places, along with Bath and Oxford. And the most affordable places to buy a home were Bradford, Blackpool, and Stoke-on-Trent. Mortgages. The special mortgage coming out that will allow people to take out a secured loan against their property to fund their children's private schooling. A lot of people will be doing that. It's when you factor in additional costs on top of fees, a private education can cost a total of $325,000 for a day school and $469,000 for boarders. It's an incredible amount of money, isn't it? So apart from that, what else have we got? Oh yeah, Bootle. This is something from Capital Economics chairman Roger Bootle. He says that we should be acting to raise interest rates in the face of inflation. He says that central banks need to raise rates soon. They may need to act more aggressively to rein in inflation further down the road. And the magnitude of these rises causes mayhem in both the financial markets and the housing markets, therefore bringing a serious risk to financial stability. Bootle goes on to say the economy now, within recite of turning to the pre-COVID level of output, looks to have considerable momentum beyond that point. What is the justification for carrying on with official interest rates at almost zero? Well, it might be the fact people are trying to get off furlough and into work. It might be the fact we've got lots of unemployment, and it might be the fact that we're all trying to get away from a pandemic, Roger. Just a thought. Apart from that, I noticed another article saying that a lot of people are struggling to get mortgages where they've had a mortgage holiday now. And do you remember when the government brought this in? They said, oh, don't worry, if you need to take a mortgage holiday during the pandemic, the lenders won't care. It will be fine. Well, it's not. A lot of lenders are knocking back people that had those holidays. And it's wrong. It's just wrong. The government should legislate to stop that happening. Very frustrating for people. It's not their fault there was a pandemic. It's a bit like with the cladding scandal, isn't it? Lots of articles over the weekend suggesting that there's funding scheme from the government is going to come nowhere near touching the sides of the problem. And there are many, many people in serious financial difficulty. Some people with flats that they bought for 90,000 and bills of over 100,000 in repairs. It's not right. And it's not right that the government step aside and say, oh, these are the rules. If you fit into them, then it's okay. And if you don't, then actually we're not going to help you. It's awful for people, real trapped people in homes where they need bigger accommodation, where they're looking at, now the government are talking about a loan scheme, a little bit like a student loan, where these people can pay back this money over a period of many years with a maximum payment of £60 a month. Well, A, for many people that's unaffordable, and B, what a noose around your neck on top of everything else you've got to find. You've now got this pandemic levy because of, well, not pandemic levy, fire safety levy, because of the developers' shortcomings in the way they built your property, and a shortcoming in the way that the government defined the regulations for those buildings. I mean, how could that be your problem? But it is, in many cases. Very, very frustrated for people in that situation. Apart from that, quite a busy week on the cards. Lots of valuations coming in, a lot of inspections going on, and generally things are still okay. Not as busy as they were, and we expect that, and that's okay. You're going to find that when you've had an incentive like this, of course, things are going to be moving around that time, and then afterwards there's going to be a bit of a lull. What we anticipate is that there'll be a few properties coming to market in July just after that deadline, and there'll be a lot of buyers waiting around to see what happens. It's a fascinating time, and I believe it's one of those times in history when we'll all look back and say, do you remember that time when? And we'll look back on this sort of years to come saying, what happened next? What's going to happen next? Well, nobody can tell you that. Nobody has that crystal ball. My gut feeling is that the market will continue apace. It will be solid. You won't see any massive prolific rises or anything like that, which is good. We've had enough of those. You will see a leveling in prices, and I think that's healthy for the market, followed by, I think prices will go in line with inflation after that for the next couple of years. I don't think that you'll see any massive jump. Obviously, it is dependent on a number of factors, not least people getting back to work, and regional factors as well. We've seen the rise of the holiday type destination as people Zoom commute. We're now seeing London reopening and firms recalling those workers back into the office. So it'll be really interesting to see what dynamic that has on the market. And we get it at the sharp end here because we see people coming into London to rent on the one hand and to buy on the other hand, according to pressures of work quite often. So it'd be really interesting to see where that goes. You'll certainly hear about it first here on Ken at 10. Until tomorrow, stay safe, look after your family and friends, and we will see you tomorrow.